Okay, guys, so today, if you will, in your table of contents, we are going to be talking about graphing by intercepts and doing some special cases. So that is our topic today. I am on page 37. You put whatever page you are on. I'm going to go ahead and flip to where we are. And today we're going to be talking about, so up at the top, graphing by intercepts and special cases. And you have this paper today that we'll do a cutout in a minute, but it says intercept method on one side and it says special cases on the other. So if you will right now, if you would not mind pausing, go ahead and pause, and I need y'all to write this intercept information for me. So intercepts, there's 4 steps to this. If you're going to use the intercept method, it must be in standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. After that, you're going to cover up the x term and solve for the y, which will give you the y-intercept. Then you're going to cover up the y term and solve for the x to give you the x-intercept. Forgot the t. And then you're going to plot both intercepts and just connect your line with your ruler. So once you have that, I'm going to go ahead and unpause this and pull up your paper that's and on the side that says intercept method. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure it's in standard form. So it's got to be ax plus by equals c, which this is ax plus by equals c, so that's good. I'm going to cover up the x, and I get negative 2y equals negative 6. Okay, all I'm going to do is solve for y. When I solve for y, I'm going to divide by negative 2, and y equals 3. Okay, that is my y-intercept. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to go to the y-axis and put a point at 3. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to cover up my y. And so now I have 3x equals negative 6. And I'm going to divide by 3 and x equals negative 2. So I'm going to go to my x-axis at negative 2. Now that I have my 2 intercepts, I'm just going to take my ruler, draw in my line, and that is what intercept method is. Okay, so just a few practice problems. I'm going to actually move my journal out of the way for the moment. So just a few more practice problems. We're going to cover up the x, and we get 2y equals 4. I'm going to divide by 2, and y equals 2. I'm going to go to the y-axis at 2 and plot my point. Now I'm going to cover up the y, and so I have x equals 4. And since x is by itself, you've done all the solving you can. You are done. So go to the x-axis at 4, plot your point, take your ruler, connect your 2 points, and there is your line. Okay, for my third example, I'm going to cover up the x. I've got a negative y equals negative 4. Okay, y is not by itself. We must divide by negative 1, so y equals 4. I'm going to go to the y-axis at 4. Now I cover up the y, and so I have 4x equals negative 4. Divide by 4, and x equals negative 1. So I go to the x-axis at negative 1. Take my ruler, draw my line, move to the next problem. Covering up the y, I now have, covering up the x, I have 15y equals 45. And it honestly doesn't matter which one you do first. So if you wanted to cover up the y first, you could do 9x equals 45. However you want to solve it first, as long as you just have the 2 problems. We're going to divide by 15 here, and I get y equals 3. I'm going to divide by 9 here, and I get x equals 5. So on the y-axis, I need to be on 3. On the x-axis, I need to be on 5. Take my ruler, draw in my nice straight line, move to the next problem. Okay, this time I'm going to show it to you backwards. I'm going to cover up y, so I get x equals 1. Well, x is by itself, nothing to solve. Now I cover up x, and I have negative y equals 1. I must divide by negative 1, so y equals negative 1. So on the x-axis, I'm going to plot 1, and on the y-axis, I'm going to plot negative 1. Take my ruler, draw my line. Okay, for the last one, if I cover up the y first, we're going to get 10x equals 10. If I cover up the x, I get 2y equals 10. Now I just need to solve my 2 problems. The first one I divide by 10, and x equals 1. So x-axis, I'm at 1. For 2y equals 10, I'll divide by 2, and I get y equals 5. So y-axis, I go up to 5. I take my ruler, draw in my lines, and that is your intercept method. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my journal, and if you will, go ahead and for right underneath that, write special cases. Go ahead and pause and write this. Okay, special cases, these are just vertical or horizontal lines. Sorry, I misspelled that right there. So horizontal lines. Vertical lines cross the x-axis, so therefore we'll do x equals whatever number it crosses at. Horizontal lines cross the y-axis, therefore y equals whatever number it crosses at. We'll talk about these two questions in just a minute, so go ahead and write that down, and if you will, go to your special cases paper. Okay, for special cases, I'm going to again move my journal out of the way. Okay, so for special cases, when it says write the equation, okay, so when it says write the equation, and I forgot to draw the line, so I'm just going to draw some lines in here. Yours will be on the paper. So I'm going to say I have a line right here. Okay, those will be drawn in on your paper. I just forgot to do them. So when we have to write the equation, they give you a line. So what you need to do is look, is this line crossing the x-axis or the y-axis? This line is crossing the x-axis, so you're going to just put x equals and whatever number it crosses at, so it's crossing at 2. You just wrote your equation. That's all this takes. For this one, you look to see again which axis is it crossing. This time it's crossing the y-axis, so this is a horizontal line, and it's crossing the y-axis at 2. So that's my equation. Okay, for the last one like this, it's crossing the y-axis again, and it's crossing the y-axis at -4. Okay, for the next 3 examples, they want you to graph it. So since it says graph x equals -1, you need to go to the x-axis and find -1, and you are going to go across the x-axis. You always have to go across the letter they give you, and so that's just your line, and that's all you have to do. For graphing y equals -5, I'm going to go to -5 on the y-axis, and my line must go across the y-axis, so a horizontal line. When I graph x of 2, I'm going to find 2 on the x-axis, and this time I need to cross the x-axis, so I'm going up and down. Okay, now what I want you to do is graph y equals 3 and graph y equals 3x, and just describe how they differ from each other. So I'm going to put y equals 3 right here. Y equals 3. There's no letter in this, so you literally just go to the y-axis, and you go to 3, and you must go across at 3. For the other one, you have y equals 3x. Since you have an x this time, your slope is 3/1 and your y-intercept is 0. So you start at 0 and you rise 3, run 1. Well, I can't repeat that, so I'm going to go down 3, left 1. And now I'm going to take my ruler and draw in my line. Okay, so there's the 2 differences. So now, describe the differences of the graph. Well, first off, the y-intercepts are different. This one has a y-intercept of 3, and this one has a y-intercept of 0. So I'm going to put y-intercepts. Those are 2 differences that I have. And then the next thing that's different are my slope. Don't know what I'm spelling. Slope. For my slopes on the first one, my slope is 0 because it's going straight across. And the slope on my second one is 3. So if you notice, they interchanged with each other. The slope, the y-intercepts went 3, 0. The slopes went 0, 3. So they kind of just flip-flop spots. So you've got to be able to recognize those differences. Okay, so now if you'll come back to your journal, and it asks you these two questions. What is the slope of y equals 5? Well, here's what I'm going to do to help you out. Y equals 5. I have a question very similar to y equals 5. I have y equals negative 5. I just want to know what the slope of that line is. So since the line is going straight across, this is a slope of 0. Okay, now I want to know what the slope of the line x equals negative 2 is. Now, I didn't have a negative 2, but I did have an x equals 2. Okay, so when I do this, like I look at x equals 2, like if I was negative 2, it would just be over here. Well, this slope is going up and down, and if y'all remember, a up and down slope is undefined. Okay, the slope of a y special case is always going to be 0, and the slope of an x special case will always be undefined. Okay, what I need y'all to do to get your notes in here is you're going to just trim the sides on the special case side. So just knock off those sides. Okay. And then what I am going to do, because there's a lot of extra room, you can take your pick if you want to put it on the front and like do it upside down or whatever. I'm going to actually go to the back of this page. And what I'm going to do is put just a thin strip of glue up here at the top of the special case side. And then I'm just going to glue it right on the back to where I can fold this and still see my special case side. So it makes it a foldable. Okay. Obviously, yours might stick out past the line. So if you just need a fold to hold it in place, you can just fold. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know.